Welcome to The Debate. Today we're looking closely at the framework behind a children's book published by DAYIR LIB. It details a child, Lina's first day of school, her anxiety, the flip-flop tummy, the stormy clouds, and how she eventually finds school fun.
Right. And the core question, I think, is what really makes the difference in resolving that anxiety? Is it, as you'll argue, the explicit verbal validation from adults? Or is it, as I see it, the successful engagement and positive reinforcement with peers?
Exactly. I'll be arguing that the adult validation and that emotional framing are primary.
And I'll argue that the successful behavior and the social interaction are really the key mechanism here.
Okay, well, I see why you might lean towards action, but let me frame it this way. The adult intervention, for me, is the essential prerequisite. Lina's clearly panicked, right? She's worried about being forgotten. And Mom and Miss Sarah jump right in with this intentional emotional scaffolding. Mom reassures her, "I could never forget you." And Miss Sarah says very clearly, "It's okay to feel a little scared." That normalization is crucial. It lets Lina think, maybe she wasn't the only one. And that validation starts shrinking those stormy clouds just enough to make engaging even possible.
Okay. While I agree that validation is, well, kind and helpful, I come at it differently. I don't see it as the primary mechanism for actually resolving the anxiety. Lina's big shift, the point where things really change, is marked by action. She goes from that tiny sigh and whispering to a tiny smile that grew bigger only after Sami asks her, very simply, "Want to build with blocks?" The success is concrete, it's experiential, building that tower so high it almost touched the ceiling. And what does she tell Mom later? "I made a friend and I hardly cried." It's all about the doing.
But wait, let's consider the introduction for parents in the book itself. That's a deliberate guide, right? It tells grown-ups explicitly to talk about feelings, remind the child feelings come and go. Doesn't that suggest the author prioritizes the cognitive framing, the emotional literacy piece? That's the intended foundation?
I'm not entirely convinced that authorial advice for parents dictates the child's actual narrative turning point. I mean, the story's pivot really hinges on Sami's behavioral invitation. It's that simple want to build with blocks. Lina's worries like, what if I can't find my way? They get solved by doing things, by navigating the day, not just by the morning chat. And think about the cookie she breaks off a piece to share with Sami. That's real active social comfort emerging from the shared activity, not just from being told it's okay.
Okay, I acknowledge the block building led to real joy, but let's track the relief. When Mom first gave that hug and reassurance, the text says the clouds got a tiny bit smaller. Right there. That's an incremental reduction, demonstrating the power of the framing before she could even act independently. You're focusing on the peak moment, but that peak was only reachable because the initial emotional barrier was lowered by that adult validation.
Sure, lowering the barrier is important. It opens the door, absolutely. But the lasting change, the feeling of pride she has when Mom comes back, that seems tied directly to the day's activities, blocks, stories, slides. She doesn't say, "I felt better because you told me it was okay this morning." She reports her accomplishments. "I made a friend." That successful behavior provides the strongest internal proof for her that school is okay, maybe even fun. That's what cements the resolution, I think.
I'm still not quite convinced performance alone does it. For me, the story structure shows that the emotional literacy, that baseline of trust built by the adult's words, had to come first. That explicit verbal support is the foundation, the key that unlocked her ability to even try the behavior.
That's a fair point about foundation versus mechanism. But I'd argue the material itself shows that the engagement, the block tower, the playground fun, that provides the most powerful, the most sort of visceral evidence to the child that this new place is safe and enjoyable. The action provides the proof.
Well, we've certainly highlighted the two key mechanisms here, the cognitive reframing from adults and the behavioral mastery through experience. It's clear they both play a role in this supportive narrative, even if we emphasize different aspects of how they help children manage that first-day anxiety. There's definitely more to unpack and how these elements work together.